Hello Animorphs fans, and welcome back to the Animorphs universe. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to be doing some fanfic recommendation to you. And there's two today. The main one I'm going to talk about is, it's a fanfiction. It's called The Earth Diary of... Sirens here. I think the police are after me, but you know, I've got an Animorphs video to do, they can freaking wait. But before I talk about The Earth Diary of Toby Hamee, I want to bring your attention to a script or a screenplay written by who I know as Slyfer. The actual name for this person, according to their Instagram and YouTube, is Nigel Dion, and he does comedy stuff. But what he sent to me is a screenplay for the first few scenes of an Animorphs movie, what he think would make a good opening Animorphs few scenes, and he's working on this project, and he would love it if you would go check it out, see what you think. I've had a look at it myself, and I quite like the idea. So what it does is, rather than just say, these are your characters, they're in the mall for 2 freaking seconds, and then they go to the construction site. This screenplay goes more and more into detail about these characters before we get to that construction site bit, changes the few of the details, so why they go through that construction site, etc, etc. But basically it fleshes out those characters a bit more, gives them a bit more welly before we get into the main storyline. A lot of it revolves around Tobias being bullied, of course, and Jake rescuing him, the whole basketball stuff with his brother. Every character gets a little more time in the spotlight before we get thrust into this main Animorphs story. And I like it, I do. So if you're interested in going and look at this screenplay, which is quite well written, you go find the links in the description, which will take you to either his Instagram or YouTube page, because this screenplay is in, I think it's a PDF file, so it's not as simple as, just upload it on the internet. If you want to see it, go contact this guy, Slyfer, and I'm sure he'll let you see a copy of this screenplay. And I'd say it's worth it for you to go check that out. I'm hoping at some point he puts it up online somewhere so it's more readily available. In fact, Slyfer, if you're watching this, please do so. Maybe like fan fiction or an archive of our own to websites that I use for fan fiction stuff. I know that the format is a bit different because it is written like a screenplay sort of thing. The one thing I will say about this screenplay, and this is my review head coming in, is that there's a lot of focus on alcohol, which is very strange. To be fair, the characters are aged up a little bit in this screenplay, so instead of being like 11, 12, 13 or however old they start off as like 15-year-olds, which is still underage. So the teacher's getting drunk in class, and the characters are all like, oh, look at our teacher getting drunk. Say, why don't we go get drunk tonight? And Marco's dad's always drunk, apparently. The Animorphs go to a party where they're... I think there's a particular bit where Jake has invited Tobias to this party. And he's waiting outside with Marco for Tobias. And Marco's getting impatient waiting, saying, I should be getting drunk right now. It's like, hold on a minute, they're 15-year-olds. You know... Yeah, I don't think a movie thing would accept that. I mean, as much as it might be realistic, I mean, when did you start drinking? So I started drinking, I was drinking shandies at like 10, and then I'd have like WKDs at like 13, 14, you know. So I'm not faulting it on its realism. I'm thinking more of what the audience think at a cinema. Look at these 15-year-olds talking about getting drunk. Yeah, shaky ground. But yeah, you also get some good stuff. So instead of going to the mall, they go to this party, and it follows Tobias around, and there's a bunch of goons there. And one of them calls Tobias a fag. And I thought, why would you call somebody a cigarette? I mean, they're all at this party getting drunk. Why are they discriminating against smokers? I mean, everyone's got their bad habits. But anyway, apart from those things, excellent stuff. So go check that out. Links in the description. Go check out his comedy routines as well, because I'm looking at his YouTube and Instagram, and he does comedy stuff as well. So go show a fellow Animorphs fan some support. That's what this is all about, showing support for each other, because if we show more support, if we work as a team of Animorphs fans, then Animorphs can only benefit in the long run, surely. But moving on to an actual like fanfic now, because that was a screenplay. I want to recommend to you something that is definitely on fanfiction.net and an archive of our own, and it is my favourite Animorphs fanfiction of all time, and it has been for many years now. It is, of course, The Earth Diary of Toby Hamee. An excellent piece of fanfiction. It is lengthy, so we're looking at over 200,000 words, which in book terms, average Animorphs book is between 20 and 25, I'd say. That's your average, 20 to 25,000. So over 200,000 words in terms of Animorphs books is quite lengthy. And you can easily separate The Earth Diary of Toby Hamee into two halves, okay? There are like 31 chapters, and the 31st chapter takes up probably, well, at least 3/4 of the entire length of the book, or the fan fiction. So the first 30 chapters take place during the war, and then the 31st chapter, which is a massive piece, single piece, it's not split into chapters, which makes it quite difficult to read, to be honest, unless you know where you are exactly. That is after the war, and it follows Toby as she brings her people to Yellowstone and does stuff there. I'm not going to spoil any of that stuff. I will spoil the first half because, let's face it, the main chunk of this story is that 31st chapter after the war. Everything before that, I personally think, is like a prologue. It's explaining how she got there. So I will spoil that first bit a little bit, okay? So we start off sort of like in the 40s, so before the resistance, where obviously the valley gets taken, what have you, and it's young Toby. She's learning to read because Tobias is helping her, like bringing her stuff to help her read and all that, and then she is rescuing other Hork-Bajir, and she rescues one particular Hork-Bajir called Telf. Now he's one of my favourite characters in all of written fiction. He's just so fundamentally lovable. Yeah, Telf is brilliant throughout this whole thing. So, and they eventually fall in love, even though it's not very consensual, which is a bit dodgy, but that's fan fiction for you. It's fiction. At least Toby doesn't think it's consensual, but then she's sort of like, or was it? Whatever. But they fall in love eventually. Toby doesn't initially know, can I fall in love because I'm a seer and I'm supposed to just look after my people, and they can be a freaking nightmare sometimes. So how can I fall in love with one? Surely that's a conflict of interest. And she has all these thoughts going on, and this is for pretty much the entire book. She has these inner conflicts going on in her head, and part of the whole point of the story is her coming to terms with these inner conflicts and resolving these inner conflicts as well. There's a big turning point at where book 47 comes in, the resistance, where the Yeerks come into the Hork-Bajir land and basically destroy it. Telf is blinded, which causes a lot of problems for Toby, and she has these. She reacts quite badly to it, and then she decides she's going to go down to the Yeerk pool. She gets very frustrated at the Animorphs for firstly not giving her the morphing power, secondly not giving it to her people, and well, that's basically the same thing, because a lot of people are injured, including her lover Telf, that she hasn't told the Animorphs about yet. And she thinks, well, you gave disabled kids the morphing power and it healed some of them. Why can't you give the power to us to heal our wounds? And she has that whole thing about that. She gets frustrated and basically goes on a solo mission to the Yeerk pool and gets captured by Visser 3. It's great stuff, absolutely great stuff. And I won't spoil how that particular storyline comes to a close, but of course she survives and she comes back out. And then we basically get the end of the war stuff. Obviously, her father dies, Jara Hamee. Ket Halpak is still there. Her brother's given a name, Dude, and it's quite interesting and quite amusing how he gets given that name. And then, of course, yeah, we go into that post-war era of Toby Hamee and how she deals with moving all these Hork-Bajir and growing a population in Yellowstone National Park, and all the politics that comes with it, because remember, she became effectively a politician, hopefully a bit more honest and trustworthy. Yeah, it's just her dealing with all this madness going on around her, whilst also having these inner conflicts about who she is, what her purpose is at that point. And she has a family, and it's just a brilliant emotional roller coaster. It really is, and it's my absolute favourite Animorphs fan fiction, and I urge you to read it. And just like with Slyfer stuff, the links are in the description, both to fan fiction and an archive of our own, because I know there are people have different preferences on which one they use, because fan fiction is a bit annoying when it comes to thought speak greater than, less than symbols. It doesn't let you use them, so you have to use freaking AnyGen uses brackets. By the way, yeah, that's the author of this particular fanfiction, AnyGen21. Done a lot of other fanfics as well for Animorphs, so please do go check those out as well. Show some support to your fellow members of the Animorphs community. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Go check those out. And I'm still writing my own fanfiction at the moment. I'm on the verge of releasing the first 2 Animorphs UK books with artwork, thanks to Ghost of Essam. I'm re-editing books 60 through to 64, so they'll be going up pretty shortly, and then I'm finally going to start work on book 65, which I believe the working title at the moment is The Isolated. And I'm really looking forward to this one. I've got so many ideas for this one, and I'm so looking forward to starting that one. It's about freaking time I got back to it, because I've just had all these other projects going on. It's taken a back seat a lot, and of course then with re-editing the other fan fictions that got in the way, because I want to make sure that they're up to scratch. And then I can finally get on with the Isolated, which I think will probably be the best one to date, personally. I haven't even started it yet, so I could be wrong, but that's my gut feeling. Trust your gut. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Go check out that stuff. Remember to check out my fan fiction as well if you're that way inclined. Thank you very much for watching. Support your community, and I shall see you for the next one. So, ta-ra from the Animorphs universe. Goodbye.